For centuries, men and women have stepped away from the table to fast, to pray, to seek something deeper. But what does a 40-day fast look like today? I'm Dr. Sam King of Fasting, and in this podcast, I invite you to walk with four ordinary people on an extraordinary journey.
All right, day 8, we're back. So let's talk about two different research things today. We're going to talk about physical exercise when you fast and the emotions of fasting. And the emotions can be a roller coaster. So let's dive into that a little bit. And the reason why I want to dive into that is because I exercised on my day, but Davey was feeling really emotional on his day. And I had a better outcome basically than I did at the beginning of my fast, which is I'm on day 8, which is kind of counterintuitive in our culture. But again, I'm tapped in completely to fat energy. So I'm basically a nuclear power plant of energy just to continue going and going and going. It's endurance energy. One of the things they found was, and this is alternate fasting, endurance exercise. So that's what we're talking about because you're in the endurance phase, combined with reduced body weight. Of course, we lost weight, and it was favorable outcomes in the lipids and decreased the risk of heart disease on individuals who fasted and exercised at the same time. I'm on day 8. I exercised for 20 minutes. I use the Zero Runner, which is a no impact running machine. I was a little bit faster, and I went 1.84 miles in 20 minutes, which again, it's not necessarily impressive. It is a machine, so how accurate is that? But I went farther in 20 minutes than I did the last time I did it. And here I was, and I'm also down 10 pounds at this point. Again, haven't eaten in 8 days. I was doing great. I had a busy day at work. I did a no calorie day that day, so I had 0 fasting fuels. I did have a little bit of black tea. I didn't take my meds or my multivitamin that day because I was going to do labs. So I wanted to see give my body a chance to just see where I was at, and also let my body use autophagy to kind of look for those nutrients in my body that day, decrease my loose skin, like kill any bad cells or old cells or any cancer cells. But that night, my ankles were a little sore. And since I have a history of gout, I won't skip my allopurinol anymore. So I took that day, but it was a 0 calorie day. So no fasting fuels for me that day. Davey, day 8 for him was a tough day. It's usually day 10 is his tough day. He was dealing with heavy emotions. He was irritable. He was exhausted. He was sticking primarily to water. He had some nausea and some heartburn. So not uncommon. He watched Adam Sandler movies all day, and he cried like a teenage girl that just got dumped. So his emotions were overpowering. And so you're like, well, what is going on? And so there's some interesting information about fasting and emotions. And guess what? It's a mixed bag on the research because it kind of depends on what day you're in. Some studies found that short-term fasts, people were more irritable, more negative, and that was usually within less than 24 hours or maybe 2 days. And that's when you're still having all those ghrelin spikes. And I think those people who were new to fasting and they hadn't ever made that metabolic switch. But then other people have had, when they go longer fast, they have much more positive moods, positive outcomes. But then you have these other swings in there. But the interesting thing is the people that have the most positive outcomes, most positive mood, the least amount of negative mood during their longer fasts or during fasting are those people that have religious beliefs. So that's kind of interesting because now you're in a 40-day fast. You're doing it probably for a religious reason. We're talking about the modern 40-day fast. And so those people tend to have more positive moods. Now, I'll be telling you, there are emotional times during this fast, and that is okay. So sometimes you might be, in some of the research, why it's a mixed bag might be what day did you ask me on? Did you ask me on one of my really emotional days? And I watched a video where a soldier came home and his dog saw him for the first time in 18 months and just like, maybe I'm not feeling as good today. Or maybe it was one of your days you're just doing great and you have a great positive mood. You feel like your prayer life is doing really well. You've got some direction in your life and it feels like a great day. So it will be a roller coaster of emotions sometimes. But talking about doing things prayerfully and making a prayerful decision, in Acts 13, it talks about how the apostles are fasting. So some people like to look at the Beatitudes and say, well, we don't have to do the fasting. It's like, you do, actually. It says when you fast and when you pray, not if. And the only time you're given an opportunity to do not fast is when he's there. So we have proof of this in Acts 13 when they're all fasting and they're getting ready to send Paul out on his first missionary journey. And it says, while they worship the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work which I have called them. And after they had fasted and prayed, they laid their hands on them and sent them off. So It was no longer optional for them. So it means it's no longer optional for you. I will say, and one of the reasons why Davey said he was emotional is because one of his expectations was not met. He said he expected to see 239 on the scale, and instead he saw 240.1. It's like, oh, I expected to see this, and I didn't see it. So his own expectations got in the way. But he said at least he wasn't hungry. So Davey had a really emotional day. I had a good day. But to show you that this emotional roller coaster can change, it can go from really emotional to really, really well, and just from one day. Let's see how Davey's day 9 went. See you tomorrow.